the static, beneath the outrage, beneath the endless scroll, there's a signal. The signal that cuts through the noise.
Every new day.
ENDtv.
Red pill mornings, blue screen nights, everybody selling truth under neon lights.
The screens got smarter, the people got tired, the experts got louder, the trust expired, the matrix got upgraded, the code stayed the same. Everybody wants the spotlight, nobody wants to blame. Fight Club in the comments, network on repeat, where it's mad as hell but still glued to our seats. The usual suspects keep selling the show, while the people in the middle just want to know. 1984 calling, brave new world smiling. One sells fear, one sells comfort, both keep you compliant.
The signal remains.
ENDtv remains. ENDtv raw,
Real, rational,
the signal that cuts through the noise. ENDtv raw,
real, rational.
ENDstream live.
obey signs in the distance, the billboards still glow. The messages are hidden in the places we know. American psycho business apocalypse now. Pace, fear and loathing headlines written all over the place. Falling down traffic, everybody's late, trying to keep their balance in a permanent state of updates of outrage of manufactured trends. Y2K never ended, it just changed its name. Now we're all online inside a different game.
Every new day, it starts again.
The bird is the word.
Don't push us.
We've already got the edge. Remember the dial-up tone?
Remember the chat rooms?
Remember when the internet,
Still felt like the future.
before the bots, before the brands,
Before every moment.
became content?
Before the algorithm feed.
From dancing baby gifs to doom scrolling feeds, from message boards and modems to algorithm needs. The memes got sharper, the jokes got strange. The world's moving faster, but the questions remain. Cold War ghosts, digital dreams, attention merchants selling tomorrow's schemes. Who's writing the script? Who's pulling the strings? Who's selling tomorrow and who's buying these things?
ENDtv asks the questions.
ENDtv keeps the signal alive.
The X-Files were warning us. The truth stayed hidden still. Now the aliens trend weekly between another culture war drill. Idiocracy laughing from the cheap seats again, while common sense gets fact-checked by a panel of 10.
ENDtv remembers.
ENDtv asks why.
Not the end of the world.
The end of the illusion.
The signal remains.
ENDtv remains.
Every new day.
Pump up the volume.
ENDtv,
ENDtv.
raw, real, rational.
The signal remains.
The bird is the word.
Pump up the volume.
ENDstream live.
We are live.
We are live.
We are live.
Don't push us.
We've already got the edge.
ENDtv,
Every new day.
bird is the word. The end is the beginning.
Welcome everyone to the ENDstream. I am Bird, your host, and yes, this is the ENDstream for Tuesday, and I want to say here at ENDtv, we do simultaneously stream across YouTube, which if you're already checking in, click the notification bell, and also subscribe if you haven't, follow us, but also on Rumble and Kick. And let me show you, we have a few things coming up in on our YouTube. Hold on a second. We have a few more videos coming up, and here you can find everything from our most popular videos to this great interview we did and others. There are playlists here too, our past live streams, shorts, and more to come. And we're also, as I said, on Rumble here too, where we also upload. On Rumble, we don't get censored as much or flagged because of YouTube's weird algorithm. And of course, if you're not familiar with Kick, it's the competitive platform to Twitch. Sorry, I almost forgot about them. And we're also on social media from Instagram. Follow us on there. We'll post shorts there too, as well as our YouTube shorts. And of course, we post stuff on our X as well. So we have a lot to get into today. I'm just going to prep myself. Oh, and I forgot to mention too, we have a Discord community which is growing. Soon we are going to privatize it, so it will only be accessible to members in the future. So if you have the time now, join it, and the conversation continues over there. So yeah, I'm going to just set this up now. Yeah, cool. So, and I want to mention another thing. Here at ENDtv, we do not toe the line for either side, and that means the right or the left. Even the dreaded middle or center. We also don't push any special interests, narratives, or agendas. We are, as you heard in the opening track, the raw, real, rational voice that unfortunately gets drowned out oftentimes by the noise online. We are the signal that cuts through that noise, or we attempt to at least. And so some of the topics today that we will be presenting you, they have differing positions, but also I'm going to try to give our own honest takes with no BS. So just to let you know, because some of these topics do have, polarizing views. But to begin with, I want to get into, I have to share that. Let's get into it. Let's get into the top headlines of the hour, because if you're not familiar, well, maybe you are if you're in North America, but because in the South, I think the Southeast, it's pretty hot. It's customary to get temperatures from plus 40 degrees Celsius. But in Europe, it's, the heat wave has continued, and it may still continue. So there have been we've reported this already, but there have been dangerous, we've been hit by this dangerous heat wave, and parts of Central, Eastern, and specifically Southern Europe have been pushing about 40 degrees Celsius. Schools, transport, housing, urban planning are becoming a large part of the story. And this is no longer just about weather. It's about infrastructure failure, workplace policy, housing design, and of course, adaptation to the climate. I think I got here we've got an interesting, the extreme heat wave grips Europe in June. The mapping, this is the mapping of the peak temperatures that you can see, for instance, here in Europe. I think, can we get as you see here, we're getting up between 40 to 45 degrees. Look at that, like between Portugal, Spain, France. I mean, and the 30s to the 40s, lower 40s, Italy, Germany, even the UK has been hit with this. And this has affected everything across the board. Schools have had to close early, etc. And this is a pretty good article here that shows us like 44 to 45 almost degrees. I mean, this is wild. South, West France, the southern tip of Spain as well. It's crazy. If we move up over here, we're seeing also close to southern Germany, also in the 40s, Italy too. But what are the key points in relation to this? Well, you know, if you heard my rant last week, I don't have patience for the summer, and it's just getting more and more intolerable. And this is a trend that seems to be the case, that it will carry on. Europeans will have to get used to this because it's going to get worse. This is I think it's the highest recorded temperature heat wave since even last year in Europe. And the question comes up about air conditioning, which is very normalized in places like East Asia and also North America, but in Europe it isn't. So the main point here is that the Europe cities were not built for this level of repeated heat. A particular case study is Berlin, which has the specific problem in terms of dense urban fabric. It has obviously, like most of Europe does, limited AC culture, and there's a construction overload, which is occurring across a lot of Western Central Europe. Transport disruption, bridge road works, and inadequate cooling infrastructure. I actually recall in Eastern Europe, at one point I was in Czechia, and I do recall that they were spraying water, and they are doing this now as well in public areas, or the police are involved, or the fire department. But the thing about AC is that, and here's the article from Heinrich Boll Stiftung, Brussels European Union. AC helps individuals tolerate the extreme heat, but it can worsen the grid load, inequality in urban heat if treated as the only solution. So from this article, Europe's growing dependence on air conditioning reflects a broader shift in how heat is managed. Marketed as efficient and climate-friendly, cooling technologies offer short-term relief, but their energy demand, refrigerant emissions, and life cycle impacts risk locking households into high-emission habits while distracting from systemic solutions. The thing with Europe is that it's been moving and shifting, you know, with the energy crisis, which is part and parcel to this as well. This shift to the more green, renewable energy, and the electric grid already has a significant issues, I would say, or has had significant issues also due to the whole utility crisis, given the ongoing conflict and Strait of Hormuz, etc., and also the shift in all of this. Also, many buildings and countries in Northern Europe have heat insulation. Well, that is true as well. A lot of countries, a commenter has just said that. And the big change here is that in most cases with Southern Europe, you do find this culture that there is air conditioning, but no central heating because they don't have as cold winters, whereas more of Northern Central Europe has more central heating and no air conditioning. But you know, with times this will change, and because of climate change, which is an actual thing that does occur, regardless of the argument of whether you think it's, mostly affected because of humans or not, the reality is that the climate will change, and over time we must adapt. And it's a bit too little too late, and people are suffering for it. So according to the Clean Energy Wire, household ownership of air conditioners in Germany, this is one case, rose from 13% in 2023 to nearly 19% in 2024, with another 19% planning to buy. In fact, that's the case. I have a link here to actually show you. I think this is one of them, that there's been just a complete chaos in relation to, or I think it was this one here. I'll show you folks in just a moment. It's on Instagram. Basically, it's sold out. You can't even buy them on Amazon. You can't get air conditioners or anything. Everyone's just been purchasing them. And there's one case here with in France in particular, which it almost harkens to Black Friday in the US, in Walmart, where we see all the chaos unfold. Well, now this is unfolding here. This is not unlike what was going on during the COVID period with the toilet paper runs, where everybody was going bananas. Let's see if I put the volume here. I don't think there's any. Wait, hold on. Right, here we go. Paris in chaos with 39 degrees. And most people would laugh about that, but the thing is, these are not normal or usual temperatures here. I think in Europe in general, it is somewhat accustomed to get from the, starting 30s, 31, maybe 32. But when we're starting to hit 40s, people are not used to that. Well, the first thing I noticed immediately is that even though it is a mad rush, it is still somewhat more civilized than in the US, where people are literally attacking each other to like grab some like flat screen TV or whatever. So that it shows some hope there, I guess. Okay, there you go. And it's not surprising. This is exactly what we saw during the lockdown period. This is exactly like what we saw with when people just started going ham, purchasing toilet paper in bulk and God knows what other supplies because they thought it was, the sky was falling, the end was nigh. Anyway, we have here a Politico article where the EU Commission has forced to shut down air conditioning amid heat wave. Interesting. Once again, our the unelected bureaucrats of the EU know what's best for you. As Brussels bakes, the Parlement building's AC stops working. European Commission's headquarters was forced to shut down its air conditioning system on Friday due to the heat wave. Staff working at the Parlement building received a text at midday reading Berle urgent due to extreme weather conditions for shutdown of air cooling systems from floor 1 to 7. Oh, so this was in relation to them. So they were the ones baking. Well, maybe a bit of heat. But Belgium and much of Europe have been sweltering for the past week with record-breaking temperatures. The Commission issued guidance for its staff earlier this week, which included avoiding going outside at the hottest times of day, drinking water regularly, and starting work earlier. And we also have another article here from the World Weather Attribution, which is saying fossil fuel emissions have rapidly worsened European heat waves in just a few decades. Just weeks after a severe heat wave that broke all-time May records, Europe is experiencing another major heat wave that is breaking June and annual records, as I mentioned earlier. This is particularly remarkable given that June is not historically the hottest month in Western Europe. Across France, Germany, Italy, Spain, and southern England, temperatures are reaching 5 to 12 degrees Celsius above seasonal averages, driven by a persistent high-pressure system, which is also what's worse because there's no wind. There's a lack of wind, and so it's and also the humidity element to this as well. So this pattern has transported hot air from North Africa into the region, while also bringing clear skies and strong sunshine. In fact, that's where we're going to get into, where I'll show from a reel in particular, where they break this down. I think it's this one. Let me just get it here. It's quite interesting because this is not just any regular heat wave.
Europe is being cooked raw right now, and the cause is one of the strangest weather patterns on Earth. Let me explain. Temperatures above 40 degrees across France, Spain, Italy, and parts of the UK. Red alerts issued, schools shut down, dozens dead, and it's not stopping. But why? Behind all of it is something called the Omega Block. High above the planet, there's a river of fast-moving air called the jet stream flowing west to east around the entire Earth. Normally, it keeps weather moving, pushing hot air out, pulling cool air in. It's the reason your weather changes from day to day. But here's what's unbelievable. That jet stream has completely jammed. When it locks into the shape of the Greek letter omega, everything stops. In the center sits a massive dome of high pressure packed with scorching hot air. On both sides sit cooler, low pressure systems acting as walls, locking the dome in place so it physically cannot move. That trapped dome becomes a lid on a pot. It reaches down to the Sahara, pulls scorching dry air northward, presses it down over Europe, and just sits there. No wind, no breeze, no escape. And here's the craziest part. Every single day that dome stays locked, the trapped air gets compressed further, and compression generates heat. So it doesn't just stay hot, it gets hotter every single day until the pattern breaks. And nobody can predict exactly when that will be.
Well, and that's the thing. How is this just the case for now? I predict that this is actually going to be continuing. I think it'll sort of have an ebb and flow currently. So we're seeing now a reduction in the temperatures for the time being, but I do think we're not seeing the end of this. Here is an interesting case where it says, wait, let me go back to the beginning. The green insanity. Oh, it keeps shifting here. I don't know why it does this, but anyway. This week, Europe hit 40 degrees Celsius. Politicians and media warned against installing air conditioning to save the planet. 60,000 of Europeans die from heat every year. This is actually a true statistic. A lot of people, especially elderly, suffer heat stroke, heat exhaustion. Europe has fewer hot days than almost anywhere on Earth and leads the entire world in heat deaths. That is crazy. That same year in the US, around 1,700. The difference isn't the weather, it's the air conditioning. This is true. There just isn't enough. And one of my close relatives informed me that the urban areas of Europe have been designed to insulate heat because they're fully concrete. And this was because they normally received cold weather. However, this is a nightmare, especially when you consider what we just heard about the heat dome, because this is just it's a scenario where we see that it will get hotter because it's almost like being in a pot, and a pressure cooker pot of sorts. So 90% of American homes have AC. Again, I mentioned East Asia. It's shifting too fast. 86% of Japanese homes have AC. Europe, one of the richest continents on Earth, sits at 20%. The UK, not considered part of Europe anymore, apparently, is at 3%. And the continent that lectures the world on human rights lets its elderly cook to death every summer. This is a big deal for me. I don't think there's enough done in the West for the elderly in terms of the social net. It's disgraceful, but that's another case altogether. But this is ridiculous. Yes, indeed. And then, the problem is then they'll argue because all the healthcare system is then overloaded, right? Well, this doesn't help either, because then this is overloading the healthcare system too, with a lot of people having to attend, hospitals because they're getting heat stroke or heat exhaustion. In Geneva, which is in Switzerland, installing AC requires a doctor's note. In Paris, it can get your apartment banned from rental. In London, councils send officials to remove units from homes. This is the insanity, because it's all for the sake of the planet. Look at this. In the UK this week, up to 4,000 surgeries canceled. Hospitals declared critical incidents. 40% of operating theaters have no way to control temperature. I mean, the fact that they don't even have air conditioning in hospitals is wild. A woman who gave birth by C-section in a German hospital during a heat wave said it's torture. Well, don't get me started on the health scam system, because that's across the board in Europe, by the way. But we're not going to cover that right now. I've been enduring with some health issues, and I can tell you, yes, I know how everybody in North America keeps bleating about the free healthcare, but and don't get me wrong, the American system over there is just a total shit show. But Europe isn't also in any position to be claiming to be the best. It's got its own problems, major problems, in fact. And as I said, this is in reference in regards to how it takes care of the elderly, and also how it takes care of people with actual chronic conditions. The healthcare system is a 50-50 chance over here. So this is given what we're seeing here, it's no surprises. In France, this gets even more stupid. France gets 70% of its electricity from nuclear energy. A French person running AC all summer emits almost no carbon. They discouraged the solution for emissions reasons in a country where the solution barely emits. Yes, this was another case that recently the Green Party from the last government, they wanted to shut down all the nuclear power plants in Germany. And that was a smart move, but anyway, all for the sake of green renewables. But in the end, do you think the government really cares about the planet, whilst they're funding and throwing so much money and finance into sending out rockets, which God knows how much like pollution, not even mentioning the space pollution, in low Earth orbit that is caused by all these satellites and rockets, all to try to have some supremacy to reach Mars or the moon. I mean, this is what's going on. And you know, don't get me started. Again, I'll refer to it later. But the problem with the whole AI data centers, which they take up a lot of energy and require a lot of cooling, and now they're considering, you know, basically adjusting resources, for instance, like water, specifically to prioritize AI data centers. These are the psychopaths in charge, okay? So when they promote this idea and they roll out some little girl who doesn't know better and reads off a script and they tell you, oh no, save the planet. They don't actually mean it. They don't care. This is all part of the narrative, because in the end, what did we get? Well, we have to pay extra because of carbon emissions, right? And in fact, in many cases, you know, there's so many policies and strides pushed to lower these emissions, but in the face of it all, again, the average citizen gets screwed over in every which way because of the energy crisis, because of the electricity crisis, because of everything. So the first thing Lee Kuan Yew did when he became Prime Minister of Singapore was install AC in every government building. He called it one of the best inventions, of history. Well, there you go. So apparently he knew best what to do there. And in 2020, Western governments spent billions and shut down entire economies to protect the elderly from COVID. Really? Did they? Or was that just the agenda? That was just the excuse. Yeah. Anyhow. So let me get back to my notes over here. The question is, I guess, is Europe still pretending heat waves are temporary emergencies instead of redesigning daily life around them? Well, if you live in Europe, then the incompetency of the people in charge, they just let things run until it just breaks down, and then they decide to put any maintenance or repairs all at the same time, which causes complete havoc and chaos. So, you know, these are the same people who are belligerent and blabbing about global warming or climate change, and yet what are they doing to actually assist people, as you know, specifically those who are more vulnerable, in coping with it? Oh, I don't know. They're not doing much, are they? So in the meantime, let's go back to, yes, I'm going to talk about something else that's in the news, which is of all our interest, of course, because, you know, I mean, it's newsworthy, so you might as well talk about it, right? So let's see if I don't get cooked whilst I'm trying to do this. Hopefully you're all keeping hydrated and keeping cool if you can, because it's tough out there, I know. But we're going to talk about now, let me just share this, NATO and Europe defense, because, you know, that hasn't stopped in the midst of all the crises that Europe is going through currently, and all the rest of the world blowing up with all these other conflicts. So what have we got here? What is it? Oh, this is an ad. Okay. Europe rethinks how it fights war as apparently the Russian threat looms. So this is from the 26th of June. Recently, European allies need to overhaul their warfighting capabilities for a new era of combat. Senior military officials from the region said, while warning of the potential threat of Russia poses. Speaking at a defense conference in London last week, NATO's Deputy Supreme Allied Commander, oh, that's a mouthful, in Europe, Air Chief Marshal Sir Johnny Stringer, I mean, you can't make these names up, underlined the need to shift to using mass-produced, low-cost equipment such as drones and interceptors while becoming less dependent on high-end, expensive platforms that can take years to produce. So the threat we face is at 360 degrees, the Air Chief Marshal told the audience of military and industry representatives. We need to be looking much further north now in terms of the ranges where we're needing to deal with Russian long-range aviation and with the potent surface and subsurface threat. Well, this is the continued shtick to prolong the Cold War. Nothing changes around there. Of course, if you haven't seen this, you can check this out. The European Council of the European Union, their European defense readiness. This is where they're talking about all of this, which is basically just coded for the European military industrial complex, which nobody wants to mention exists, but it's part of where they're throwing all the money into at the current stage. You have here the Rearm Europe plan, readiness by 2030, because something's going to happen at 2030. Ooh, I wonder what. Aliens invading? I don't know. And then preserving the peace, defense readiness roadmap, of course, because, you know, this is Orwellian, what is it, new think. War equals peace, because you can't have a military defense plan without actually instigating or initiating conflict. Anyway, we have a little video here. I'm going to play. Let me just get this ready. And it didn't work. Hold on.
NATO defense ministers have put talk of a rift between the US and Europe behind them following a two-day meeting in Brussels. The alliance hailed the increase in defense budgets, which will see European members spending an extra $33 billion this year. And the alliance stressed its continued backing for Ukraine.
With ammo running short on the battlefield, NATO defense ministers stressed more needs to be done to ensure that Ukraine has the supplies it needs.
We also discussed ramping up production of ammunition to refill our stocks and continue to support Ukraine. We need to shift from the slow pace of peacetime to the high tempo production demanded by conflict.
Did everybody catch that? I'm not crazy, right? Let's just rewind, right? Let's listen to this pencil neck right here. You know, this dusty suit. Listen carefully to what he just said there.
Of peacetime to the high train, we need to shift from the slow pace of peacetime to the high tempo production demanded by conflict.
Bingo! So let's forget about moving into a gradual slow pace of peacetime and focus into the high tempo production, you know, because that's all about supply and demand of conflict. What does that spell out, boys and girls? It means it's war equals money. They don't care. They don't care about the Ukrainians. They never did. This is all just some scam. It always was. They don't care about us. They don't care about nobody. This is all for to line their pockets. This is how it is. They're literally saying this in the official conference here in NATO. This is all it's about. If you are so dense that you can't even figure this out by now, that this is all just for these bureaucrats and these a-holes to just line their pockets, because that's all it is. They don't care about, you know, one death here, one death there. They don't care. They could care less. If they did, you don't think they would have resolved this by now? The urgency of the situation? What about the urgency of the situation in the Middle East with, you know, Palestine? What about that? Why aren't they resolving that? Well, they don't care. They don't give a crap. These people don't care. I mean, they couldn't even care less if people are dying from heat. Like, you think they're going to give a crap about anyone in regards to these conflicts? No, they start these conflicts. It's them. It's never the white hat versus the black hat, like in the traditional Westerns. These mofos are the ones who they instigate this. That's why they love to prolong these things, these forever wars. And that's what they are. Who knows what's going to happen in 2030? But I'll tell you something. I can predict this right away. Well, the conflict in Ukraine ain't going to end. The conflict in the genocide occurring in Palestine isn't going to end, and God knows how many other conflicts. You know, Iran is still going to be on the table. Don't get it twisted. It will. I'm sorry, I hate to say it, but it will. Iran will still be on the table, and this is the problem. And if it's not Iran, then it's North Korea. That's going to come into the picture soon enough, I'm sure, as well, or some other Axis nation that they designate, because they want to continue the machine of war. They don't care. They don't care about us, and exactly, this is what Michael Jackson said in his song. All I really know is they don't care about us. But anyway.
NATO said it will set up a training center with Ukraine and Poland to share intelligence on fighting the Russian army. A group of member states also wants to send 1 million drones to Ukraine, and other allies want to help clear mines in the war-torn country.
Yeah, all right.
Defense.
This is just crazy. This is the defense meeting. I think this is what we were hearing. Oh, let's listen to this this pencil neck, Mark Rutte, the Secretary General. Let's have a listen to what he has to say here, because of course that'll be fascinating. Let me put the captions.
Good morning and welcome to this meeting of NATO defense ministers. This is the last milestone before our summit in Ankara in just 3 weeks.
Because these bastards love their summits, love their conventions, love their conferences. You know, just more money blown here and there for these bastards just to get a free ride, to get all these nice benefits, stay in these hotels, to talk and talk, hot air, and nothing is ever come out of these things. You give me one case where something comes out of this, other than more disaster and chaos. But anyway.
Today we will address how European allies and Canada are taking more responsibility for their conventional defense.
Remember, folks, newspeak, defense basically means attack.
To rebalance our security for the better, we are building a stronger Europe and a stronger NATO.
What that means, I'm going to translate this because that's the only way I can actually bother even to listen to this idiot. What that basically means is they want to build a stronger military industry, so they can put all their money into that, finance that, so they can actually not for the defense of the Europeans or the interests of the Europeans, no, so they can then continue the war machine, so they can be more involved in enterprises within conflicts and establish their own, industries through the conflicts, through the wars. That's what they want to do. That's exactly what they want to do.
That means allies demonstrating clear progress and a credible path towards investing 5% of GDP on defense.
Remember that statistic, folks, 5% of GDP. And if you listen to anyone in the past about the gross national debt, which is becoming a major issue and has always been, it still is in the West, particularly from countries to the USA to, these are all the supposed rich countries, from USA to the EU, okay? Then you wonder, why isn't there enough money being put into social services, into other services for people, for the citizens? Why isn't there enough money being placed into other actual necessary things or policies? Well, that's why. Because these guys, they don't care. This has been the case in the US, that people like Ron Paul, what was his name? The Ross Perot brought it up back in the 90s when he was one of the first people to publicly announce it on TV when he was running for election as the sort of the third candidate against Clinton and at that time senior Bush. They brought this up. They've been bringing this up, and it gets thrown under the rug. In fact, the irony of this all was that Trump brought this up, and the whole weird partnership with Elon Musk to cut waste and stuff, which didn't do anything, of course, was just to assist for his own interest, was supposed to enable this, but no, it didn't. We just see more increase in the national debt. And the problem with that, I tell you, you might not feel it right now, but future generations do. And this has knock-on and domino effects with everything. That's the problem. 5%, let me tell you, that's a lot. And if you're not thinking that that's a lot right now, it will be a lot in the next 20 years. Just you wait, because it'll increase then. Because that's how this whole military-industrial project works.
And turning that increased spending into combat-ready forces and capabilities now. We are already seeing truly impressive progress. In 2025,
Wait, what progress? Because I don't see nobody talking about peace. I don't see any conflict dying down. Where's the progress? Are we in the upside down here? Like, for real? Like, what's going on? Like, I don't know.
European allies and Canada invested over $90 billion, $90 billion.
I love the fact that he's actually emphasizing how much it is. But none of us can even quantify that amount, because why is $90 billion being put into that? Anyway, I think the rest of what this guy has to say would be crickets. Exactly. So we're going to move on from this. Basically, I just wanted to raise the fact that The key points in this is that the EU defense spending is projected at about 381 billion euros already in 2025. Ukraine has changed assumptions about war, so drones, electronic warfare, air defense, munitions production. Germany and Europe face a capability gap. More money does not automatically mean readiness. Oh no, of course, but that won't stop them. And NATO's next phase is less about speeches and more about factories. Who told you about that, right? Supply chains, recruitment, and speed. We want you to join NATO and the rearm defense policy. Anyway, is Europe finally waking up? No. Well, at this stage, we're in the upside down, so we're sleepwalking. Or just spending more money without fixing the system. You want to know the truth? Personally, they're just throwing money into this, but they know why they're throwing money into this. Because these bastards on the top, they're getting something out of it. They always do. These are all incentives, special interests, and that's the problem. And
More than a year before.
Sorry, let me get rid of that. Let me get rid of this idiot. And now we're going to move on to another topic, which I think is one of these polarizing topics currently. Before, I think, oh no, we have to talk about that too. But anyway, bear with me because I'm trying to manage all of these things and cut through all the crap so I can bring to you most of the relevant information here. So, do you know who Uwe Boll is? He's I guess you could say he's a pretty bad filmmaker from Germany who found a way to make movies, mostly a lot of, like video game adaptations. Let me look him up. If someone can, I need the IMDb link here so I can show you. Uwe Boll. Since I think it was the late 90s, early 2000s. Let me get this here so I can show you. There we go. Accept. All right. So that's Uwe Boll. He's been known. Let's see. Let's go back. Maybe there's some movies here that people, for instance, Alone in the Dark. Wait, this is production credits? Yeah, no, I want director credits. Here we go. Okay. So you've got, let's get more. He started making a lot of these, like the House of the Dead video game adaptation he made. That was already in 2003. So early 2000s. Alone in the Dark, Blood Rain, In the Name of the King, A Dungeon. Like if you're a gamer, then you'll be familiar with some of these. Postal, Blood Rain 2, etc. And this was, or Far Cry even, I didn't even know that. But in any case, the point is he found a loophole where he could, through the tax system, make movies. And this is how he managed to afford certain, I wouldn't say, maybe B-list actors into a lot of these movies. Because, for instance, if you look into like a movie, for instance, at the time, 2005, Blood Rain, you have actors like Michelle Rodriguez, Ben Kingsley, Michael Madsen, and people always wondered, like, how the hell is he getting these people? Well, because he was getting the money through this loophole to make these movies. Eventually, anyway, I guess the loophole didn't work anymore because he moved to Canada, and he became very political for a while. Hold on, I'm trying to make some sense out of all this because I got too many things open. Oops. So yeah, where was I here? Apologies. Anyway, he recently came out with a movie called Citizen Vigilante. I think it's known by something else in the United States. This movie stars Armie Hammer, who isn't someone without also controversy he has had, but it's become a flashpoint around immigration, censorship, vigilante violence, and Germany's film classification system. Germany's FSK, that's the film classification system, reportedly declined to rate the film, limiting its normal release advertising path, while Elon Musk boosted the film on X. We have here, for instance, that case. This was the post that was boosted. I watched Uwe Boll's controversial thriller, Citizen Vigilante, you can too, since it's posted for free on X, but you probably won't be able to get through it because it is surprisingly boring for a movie about a guy hunting migrant rapists. Yes, boring, but the subject matter is pretty much that. One of the ironies, just to mention here, is that Oh wait, nobody saw the. Oops. Sorry. Here we go. This is the. This was the post. Let me just zoom in there. So yeah, here we go. I watched Uwe Boll's controversial thriller, but you probably won't be able. I think it's even on Elon. If I go to Elon, you'll see that he retweeted it just so you guys can see. Where is it? He posts too much, I swear to God. Everyone's posting way too much here. Where are we? We're in June 20. It was around here, I think. Ah, there we go. So yeah, you see reposting the Citizen Vigilante. So basically, the irony surrounding this is that Uwe Boll, in his public persona, has shifted considerably over the past 2 decades. In the 2000s, and well, at least specifically around the first Trump presidential campaign, he frequently criticized conservatives, mocked populism, and publicly attacked figures very, very harshly, like Donald Trump. And he released satirical political videos and was often viewed as an anti-establishment provocateur from a different ideological direction. However, more recently with this movie, seems to be the case that he's not doing this movie as a satirical, tongue-in-cheek way. It is, in fact, a movie that focuses on immigration and how a sort of rich, white American living in Europe, particularly Germany, has become fed up of the rampant crime that has exasperated itself, and so takes matters into his own hands. And it's pretty ruthless about that. It's not shying away from the fact that it's taking the side of basically all the crime occurring right now is coming from immigrants, and that's a loaded term in itself because are we talking about legal immigrants, illegal immigrants? It doesn't specify, but basically, I think the idea here is that it's saying illegal immigrants or immigrants who are allowed to be here, or asylum seekers, etc. So yeah. So the supporters frame this. Let me put it here. There's an article from Entertainment Weekly. Elon Musk shares full Army Hammer comeback film. I don't know if I can show a trailer for this. I probably can, but anyway, I watched it. It is atrocious. I mean, it's not badly produced, but the point is it's atrocious in terms of visual storytelling. Coming from a background in film and visual storytelling, I can tell you it's not very good. As usual with Uwe Boll. Uwe Boll has had some cases of doing some movies which are entertaining to some extent if you can look past, the ridiculousness. In this case, because it's trying to take a more serious tone, the thing about this movie is that the censorship, which I'm against censorship in any case, I think that this has only helped embolden it. And then you get this self-professed, freedom of speech pioneers like Elon Musk, who will then take a hold of this just to use it for their own political motives, because, Elon Musk has been very vocal about how Europe is going down the drain due to immigration. But however, critics have framed this as crude, inflammatory, and anti-immigrant revenge fantasy. I would say, indeed, it does come off too much like that, to a ridiculous point. I mean, do I think that there is a discussion to be had in relation to the immigration situation? Of course, I have brought this up in the past. I just think that there's high incompetence from high up, the levels of the political class who just don't do enough. And they tend to bundle in everything. And then you get these types of cases. And this is all just distraction, smoke and mirrors. This is the problem. They tend to only focus on that. The man from U.N.C.L.E. Someone posted that. I don't know what you're talking about. Or maybe I missed this. Uwe Boll. But anyway, this was the case. I don't know if I can show. Hold on a second. Oops. Let me get back that. This is a comment here. Where is it? Well, I'm going to show you a comment on X. To be honest, you can just find it online. It's probably free somewhere online, anywhere. But here's some of the commentary about it. My thoughts exactly. Sam von Rooij MP. So I don't know where this, what party he really, oh, okay, Vlaams Belang. Okay, so he's from the far right. This is a Citizen Vigilante, the 2026 action thriller directed by Uwe Boll. By, what is it? It's a low-budget raw production, cheap sets, the kind of unpolished execution, yes, of Boll's work. By Hollywood standards, it's a navet. Yet it has achieved what slicker films rarely do. The story follows a man pushed to the breaking point by relentless migrant crime and a justice system that systematically fails its own people. Well, that is true. The justice system across the board has failed its own people, but not necessarily just because of rampant migrant crime. Authorities prioritize political correctness over public safety. That depends, or they use political correctness as a shield and distraction tool. In city after city, unintegrated, and here we go. This is where unintegrated Muslim immigrants bring values fundamentally at odds with Western society. Attitudes towards women, secular law, free speech, and religious pluralism that clash with the Enlightenment foundations of Europe. Because that is what a lot of these professed conservative rights establish themselves as. Let's not forget that the majority of these so-called conservative, and by the way, this is what I mean. This is why it's very polarized here. Because I'm not taking the stance of the left, which, by the way, have ruined themselves in their own way, but the right have as well. Because they like to hide behind this whole idea of freedom of speech and, you know, the liberal values. Liberal values, wait, you're conservative. But then that's where the red line is, because then they'll push. Well, you know, women shouldn't really be voting because it's women that bring in all these things. Women, da-da-da. And, you know, and then there's this whole thing of like the separation of church and state. Maybe we should bring that church back into play. You know, this is the problem with the right currently. And they play up into that. And the thing is this, if you're not familiar about like how conservatism, not all conservatism, but the politicized conservatism, polarized conservatism was, just roll back to the 1950s, my friends. And there was censorship there. And there are many conservatives who are open to censor those they disagree with. They'll hide behind the freedom of speech when it suits them, but they'll be very happy to censor anything that doesn't abide by their interests. So trust me, this goes both ways. I mean, this is the problem here. So this is one comment here, which I don't agree with. But then we have here, I can maybe show this without the audio so we don't get, this is from Reddit. I need to this shows you a bit of the, hold on. What the hell with this? Okay, so Army Hammers, this is from FOMOA. Reddit returned to acting in racist film. Citizen Vigilante has been banned in Germany, follows a wealthy American in Europe who blames migrants for rising crime and decides to take matters into, okay, well, here we go. There's Army Hammer. Yeah, this is the problem, that there's a lot of this, what you see right now. In the beginning, there's this scene. I'm going to be careful because wait, hold on. I don't want to show any blood here because it is quite bloody. Okay, no. In the first scene, there's like a mother and a child coming from a supermarket and she gets like slashed with a knife in broad daylight and no reaction or anything. It looks like it's happening in Poland of all places, but apparently it's Germany somewhere. And then there's like the majority of like the beginning, like I think it runs almost for like way too long, is like you have Army Hammer talking to the camera, nobody's doing anything, blah blah blah, and so on and so forth. And it's just tedious and tiresome. And then, yes, of course, you know, the news reports and everything. It's, you know, it is the politicians' faults. It is their fault, but it's just, you know, here we go. They're trying to stop this vigilante. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. It's trying to bring awareness because we're being invaded, of course. And they've been telling us this for the longest time too. Do I think there's a problem with the immigration policy? Yes. Do I think there are some bad actors and bad eggs? Of course there are. But you know why? Because of incompetency, that there isn't a proper system put into place that is correct, and it values humanity in the correct fashion, and it, you know, just does the correct background checks. Did they do the whole, you know, has Europe done a mess of this whole thing? Of course it has. But are we going to now brandish a brush across everyone that has sought asylum, or anyone coming here to work that happens to have a different skin tone, that they're all bad actors. No, they're not. And that is ridiculous. And, this is the problem. And this is all just to polarize society so they can keep you distracted. So you think the problem isn't them on the top, which it is, but it's each other. It's just the other each other. Oh, it's the darker skinned guy. Oh, it's the Muslim guy. This is what they want. They want this distraction. And that's what keeps going and going and going. I mean, let's not forget 9/11 and then the war on terror. What happened after that? Oh, yeah, remember? But meanwhile, it's okay to deal with like the Muslim countries, which have lots of money and oil, and everyone's happy with those guys, right? Because they have their little playgrounds in the Gulf, like Dubai, where, by the way, slavery seems to be the norm and other things. But let's not mention that. Those places, which are, they have human rights problems, they're fine. Those guys are okay because they got the money. But you're from anywhere else in the Muslim world. Oh no, you're problematic. This is wild. Yes, indeed, and this is the old adage of basically order through chaos. This is what they do. From June 25, some of my co-hosts sent me something. From June 25 to June 28 of this year, Musk hosted a video stream of the entire movie completely free. Yes, this is what I mentioned. On his account on X, formerly Twitter. The 48-hour free window generated an enormous explosion in viewing figures and a massive marketing boost for the low-budget movie, leading distributor Quiver Distribution to aggressively expand and lock down worldwide rights. Gee, you don't think maybe this was kind of by design? Whereas you have other movies. Well, here we have Letterboxd. I'm sure a lot of our younger viewers, if you're not, or you're familiar with Letterboxd, it's become sort of like the better alternative to, I don't know, like IMDb, where you make lists of movies you've seen, but like it's done very poorly there, 2.2. And just so you know, Letterboxd isn't political in any way. So this is just coming from like raw viewers here. But you have, I mean wait, let me see if I zoom in. So you got there, F you. This person wrote in German. It's basically going into the, criticizing Musk and just the whole politicization of it. Here we have another one: racist, stupid, and poorly made. I'd be offended if it wasn't so. I mean, that's the thing. It drags. It's very slow, especially when you have the beginning, which has this like severe graphic scene of just a mother being stabbed in the neck. So, okay, this is getting extreme here. This was straight doo-doo, huge propaganda. It does come across as that. I do want to bring up a point here as well, however, just because, we try to give you the full picture. Basically, to give you context, last year, 2025, there was another of Boll's movies that was released called Run, another political movie. And the premise of that was a boat carrying migrants from several African countries attempting to cross the Mediterranean into Italy after a perilous journey, and the survivors reach a small Italian town where tensions escalate between the migrants, local residents, police, bureaucrats, and vigilante groups. Rather than focusing on a single protagonist, the film follows multiple perspectives as the situation spirals. This actually, ironically enough, features the actor Barkhad Abdi, who was, what was the movie? The famous movie with the I Am the Captain Now. Someone can help me here now. I'm turning a blank. It's based on the true story. Tom Hanks, Captain Phillips. Yes, he's in this. So this kind of is a bit in contrast from the film. Whereas in Run, the movie from last year that Uwe Boll made. It's about boat migrants arriving and a small town getting out of control, whereas this one, currently Citizen Vigilante, is more controversial because it's arguing It is, well, Boll has argued, let me show you. Where is it here? Oh, here it is, sorry. So Boll, in an interview for Indie Cinema, has argued that this follow-up film is not against migration, but against criminals, while also criticizing what he sees as self-censorship in European cinema. I think the case here is always the same, and this has been myself and Edge's and ENDtv's policy and premise since we started. It's all about framing, and it's all about how you project your message across. And the problem with this is that we have incompetents and idiots who should not, I mean, woe is me to say that nobody should be platformed. But unfortunately, these fools who have just way too much attention on their platforms, that they exploit and capitalize off this, because they know that negativity gets more clicks and views. They know how to instigate reactions, because this is the whole psychology behind what it is that they perpetuate. And people in the entertainment industry, the media, they know this as well. This is the problem with the news. We've talked about this before. So these aren't the best people to influence young minds, or the best, I mean, the young minds shouldn't be influenced in any case, but they also aren't the best people to inspire or, you know, in my view, be the head of putting out a message. And this goes for the mainstream media too, which we see a polarity that play off this. And it's just, again, bread and circuses, you know, to keep the regular citizen distracted from the main problem, which is always the problem. And the root of the problem is you know, the same people in charge that, you know, they switch them out, but they always stay in a position of power. And that is the dynamic, which is why they always do things for special interests. And the reality is that it's the system. The people in the system are at play here, and they be playing you and me and everyone else. And if you want to be a pawn, you play into this. And when you have commentators from Joe Rogan or even Ben Shapiro, I'm not criticizing these people directly. I'm just giving examples, whether it's Joe Rogan or Ben Shapiro or Hassan Piker or whatever. They're only doing what they're doing for their own interest as well. They have sponsorships, they're monetizing, and, you know, maybe they believe in what they're saying, but they're adding the fuel, you know, to the fire. They're not assisting. Nobody's putting any effort into trying to bring the temperature down, ironically enough, with the heat wave going on. But, and so this is why news isn't news anymore. This is why people aren't being informed. And that's why you get the current neo-reactionary mood as it is. And people just find any which way to accuse the problems on these things. So anyway. Check it out for yourself if you want. I disagree with it being censored. Wait, I wanted to actually play this for a bit. Hold on a second. This captures kind of my sentiments to some extent.
Uwe Boll's Citizen Vigilante was definitely a film for current times, and despite its flaws, sent a message many could resonate with. And I'm glad people are again shown truth propaganda instead of complete bullshit propaganda. So I decided, let's see what else Uwe Boll has done, and me and my brother decided to check out his 2025 film, Run. And yes, I'm the captain now is literally in this film from Captain Phillips.
Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
And if anyone says my pronunciation of Uwe Boll is wrong, I'm just gonna start calling him Bowl of White Rice with damn nuts!
Basically, my message is yourself.
Run is basically Uwe Boll trying to make a serious immigration drama and failing until...
This is the thing that I will say. I think that certain people who have a lack of awareness or information or knowledge about something, they shouldn't really jump into the fray with this. But this has become the norm now because everybody knows best. Everybody can just look it up, Wikipedia, whatever, and they think all of a sudden they know it all. No. I've been very critical about this in cinema too, when I see like movies, particularly like even horror movies where they tend to focus on a particular type of topic, like they touch upon the occult or something like this, and you can just visibly see. And I know this also from people who come from a programming or IT background, that they get really annoyed from like these sci-fi movies or something when you can see that there's not been enough research or investment in that area to inform yourself to create a much more well-rounded story. This is the problem, is that everybody just thinks they can get onto the pulpit and they can just say what they want. Sure, you can. That's the reality of freedom, but it comes with consequences. And the thing is that, what do you have to say as well? Are you adding to the conversation or are you taking away? And is it going to make any impact or actual change? Because this is the trouble. We're just seeing a rinse and recycle of the same topic over and over again. Same people reacting back and forth, back and forth. It's like a ping pong game.
So the last 20 minutes. But that last 20 minutes is so unhinged and wild that it was worth sitting through 80 minutes of a drama to get there. Run sets off with illegal immigrants heading to the coast of Italy and trying to seek asylum from their crap countries like Somalia. As soon as they land, they try to escape and seek a new life, but some choose violence and others want to start a fresh new life with more opportunity. All while a policeman who's corrupt takes advantage of Anna, a random lady who's crazy and does weird things for this entire film.
Are you on drugs?
And she...
I won't play out the whole thing, but if you want to check it out, it's from Shadowscape Pictures, and it's called Uwe Boll is Back, and he did not hold back in Run 2025. That case there. It's about 13 minutes long. But yeah, he basically criticizes it. It looks like the movie from last year is trying to show at least a measured view of the two sides. But clearly, the current one seems to have switched altogether. I'm going to start the next in the next hour. For the next hour, I'm going to start off with the gold, central banks, and de-dollarization. I was supposed to have covered that by now, but I'm taking a small break to cool off. I hope you can too. Take a bathroom break, replenish yourself with some beverages or something. And yes, we are going to still cover that and get into Peter Thiel, our favorite, man with the plan. And what else? Oh, also into education. Why does school suck? And briefly touch upon recent updates in AI news, because we're always trying to give you the lowdown with that. So yeah, tune in the next 5 to 7 minutes. We'll be right back. And thank you. Don't log off just yet. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Yeah. Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully you've collected yourselves after all of that. So we've been through a lot of like hot topics. No pun intended. But now we're going to talk about something else where we are going to go into central banks, because we all love those. Central banks are still signaling a strong interest in gold as a reserve asset. This is kind of funny because I've been starting to see signs everywhere as well. It's like, we'll buy your gold. I wonder why. So this does not mean the dollar is dead, but it does show a world where countries want insurance against sanctions, inflation, geopolitical fragmentation, and overdependence on the U.S. financial infrastructure. Well, who wouldn't, given what's going on over there? Here at the World Gold Council, we're seeing Central Bank Gold Reserve Survey of 2026. So central banks have accumulated an average of 1,000 tons of gold over the past 4 years, up significantly from the 500 tons average over the preceding decade. This marked acceleration in the pace of accumulation, which has occurred against a backdrop of geopolitical and economic uncertainty, which has clouded the outlook for reserve managers. So the World Gold Council survey says 89%, as it states here. Respondents overwhelmingly 89% believe the global central bank gold reserves will increase over the next 12 months. The gold is becoming a geopolitical hedge and not just an inflation hedge. And then there's the case of de-dollarization, which is seeing a gradual, uneven, and often overstated, but the diversification is real. And BRICS, for those who don't know, this is the new conglomerate of national currencies and countries coming together. It's the intergovernmental group of particularly emerging economies created to increase cooperation. And BRICS is the acronym of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. I think more recently, the group has expanded to include countries such as, I think it was Egypt, Indonesia, Iran, and the UAE. So they're kind of the competitor currently to the IMF, or International Monetary Fund. So let me just get back into this. So the BRICS, sanctions, and frozen reserves have changed how states think about financial sovereignty. So are the central banks buying gold because they trust gold more or because they trust the global system less? Well, maybe it's because they're going for broke and they're deciding, you know what, let's get back some of that gold because, oh, wait, hold on a second. Because back in the day, for those who are not familiar, this is an article here, I'll get into this, but back in the day, when you had a paper money, which it's paper money, it's printed, you know, print money machine goes, yeah, which just gets issued by the central banks. In the US, it's the Federal Reserve. In EU, it's the European Central Bank, or ECB. We mentioned this in the last stream. I think I forget who the president of that is, but it's another German. Anyway, someone is going to tell me. I forgot now the name. It's too hot to remember all these things. But in any case, back in the early 20th century, what happened was every printed paper money you got, it was kind of like a receipt, and there was like a slither of gold. And this was like a reference or a receipt to how much gold there was that you had in the banks. But over time, that was no longer the case. And this was devalued. And it was around the Nixon era, I think, during Henry Kissinger. And this was the one major mistake, biggest one, I would say, where I think it was Lyndon Johnson and Nixon. So it's regardless of party here, Democratic or Republican, but they pushed for this. And now paper money really has no value. And this is part of the reason why I think so many people jumped onto the crypto bandwagon, especially like Bitcoin, because scarcity basically presents value. And therefore, you know, if you keep printing basically just more and more money, you can't base it off anything because it has no value. And in many cases with a lot of the banks around the West, we're finding, or there has been discovery in the last 20 years that, well, we don't have that gold there anymore. I think this happened in the UK. This happened also in the US, and gold has just gone missing. So this is a major problem. And now it's just quite fascinating to see that governments are rushing back into purchasing gold. And I'm seeing also, like I said, there's a lot of these other outlets and other places saying, we'll buy your gold. Because the reality is this, at the end of the day, when the whole, when the shit hits the fan, your paper money ain't going to get you nowhere. all this paper money ain't going to, and all this like credit that you got to, all these integers and ones and zeros you got saved up and stuff, it has no value. Nobody's going to care. I'm sure you've all seen all these post-apocalyptic movies or things, and it's like, well, I'll give you $100, and then the other guy's just like, what do I have to do with that? What do you want me to do with that? I can't eat it. I can't use it. It's going to be ammunition. It's going to be gold. It's going to be, resources. So that's the reality. Yeah, maybe for toilet paper. That's the only thing it'll be good for. And that's the truth. That's the true nature of the beast here. So this is why people are looking into like investing into it. And it's not only gold, it's also silver and other things too. But anyway, in this article from Kitco, central bank demand has been a solid pillar of support for the gold market as prices pushed to all-time highs at the start of the year. You can see here in the wait, maybe I zoom in a bit here so you can see bit better. I might have to move myself. Oh, here we go. Central Bank Gold Reserve Survey published Tuesday showed that 89%, as we just reported, managers expect global central bank gold holdings to increase over the next 12 months, while a record 45% expect their own institutions to add to their reserves. And what you're seeing here is the percentage of like the increase in regards to the remain unchanged, the decrease, and don't know. This is how do you expect your institution's gold reserves to change over the next 12 months? And it comes at a historic moment for precious metals. The WGC noted that gold recently surpassed the U.S. Treasuries to become the world's largest reserve asset, and that's significant given the petrodollar. The basically the dollar backed on oil. And there was a concern that I think some countries are going to drop that altogether, considering Trump's tariffs and everything like this, but that was not so much the case. We have here a interesting, let's try this one first. Here we go.
For the first time since 1996, gold has officially beaten the US dollar. And the numbers are shocking. According to the European Central Bank, gold now makes up 27% of global central bank reserves. US Treasuries, just 22%. That gap is growing every single year. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why this is happening, why it matters for your money, and whether the dollar's dominance is truly ending. Here is where it all started. In 2022, the US and its allies froze roughly $300 billion of Russia's central bank reserves overnight. Just like that, money that Russia thought was safe became completely untouchable. That moment sent a shockwave through every central bank on the planet. If it happened to Russia, it could happen to anyone. So countries started quietly making one move.
So this was obviously at the climactic development with the conflict in Ukraine, and this is when multiple companies, like from Visa, everything, they all shut off Russia, and they had to basically adapt. And this is the point, though. You do something to one country, people forget that we're still doing business. The thing is, this is what happened. Like there's always been conflict with Russia, but you find out, and it materializes later on, that Hillary Clinton, who was the Secretary of State, was still doing deals with Russia, and they continue doing these deals because it's just the optics, and it's just on the surface level where they shut off everything and they put all these sanctions. But at the same time, what they don't realize is that country is going to also adapt and shift its gears, and that's what Russia has done. If they think that the country is just going to just sit there, I mean, look, for instance, at BRICS, we now see Iran is part of it. And they've been hitting Iran with sanctions, but prior to the attack on Iran. So this is not surprising, and it has obviously a shockwave effect, because if the whole way that the world market functions is every aspect of any country, it's going to have some sort of influence, and it's also going to have an effect in the long term. So it's no wonder why other countries are quietly, making moves. And the reality is this, and I've stated it, and unlike a lot of other, patriotic Americans who are gung-ho and everything, the truth of the matter is that the American empire, it's done. The American century is dead. It's been dead for a while. And people thought originally that, Donald Trump was the catalyst, the last savior. He would put, set it on the right trajectory, but that's not the case. It's too little, too late. But also at the same time, you have to also take into consideration, even if you thought that, what comes after him? This is just the reality. It's the ebb and flow of empires that rise and fall. And I know that the United States of America isn't really an empire, but you could consider it somewhat of an empire. Since World War II, it grew up to be something of significance, influence around the world, etc. But its days are done. That doesn't mean that the United States of America will disappear. It just means that its global influence, its global dominance will no longer be as it once was. And that's why we're seeing a shift with a multitude of other countries, and they're making moves, and they're becoming more resilient, and they're becoming power players themselves, which is why the board is uneven now. It's no longer one side, the United States of America, NATO versus Russia. It's becoming much more dynamic, multipolar, as we've said. So
they started buying gold. Central banks bought over 4,000 tons of gold between 2022 and early 2026. That is the largest gold buying spree in modern financial history. China, India, Poland, Turkey, all loading up. Why? Because gold stored in your own country cannot be frozen, cannot be sanctioned, and cannot be taken away by anyone. The result, gold reserves are now worth over $5 trillion globally. That is more than all foreign holdings of U.S. government bonds combined.
Yeah, which at the end of the day, like I told you, this is paper and it has no value. So obviously gold's going to have more value. So we're seeing a return back to that. And interesting that these countries are doing so because they're smart and they're realizing, well, we're not depending on the old system anymore. So I think we'll move on from there. But so, if you have the ability to start investing, buying up some gold if you can, or saving what gold you have, be wary of it. Because it's so uncertain what's coming up, we don't know. So I'm now going to get into our good friend, not really our good friend. I'm going to get into Peter Thiel, because maybe you remember that Peter Thiel's secret society, or heard about it. Not much has been covered regarding it, but there were some leaks. Interesting how things always get leaked, but nothing ever gets done about it, right? So in this article here, secretive elite group linked to billionaire Peter Thiel exposed in data leak. And these are the people who are supposed to be dealing with data in general. Don't forget, from Zuckerberg to the Google guy, etc. But we're always seeing data leaks. And meanwhile, they pester us with all these ridiculous, positing this whole idea of security. Well, leaked files detail 2026 retreat in Ireland, discussion topics on AI and World War III, mind you, and matchmaking feature for participants. A private network founded by billionaire Peter Thiel, including influential figures in politics, technology, and finance, has been thrust into the spotlight after a major data leak revealed its members and activities, according to a report by Wired magazine on Tuesday. So, okay, to break it down for you here, it's a leak that exposed details of Dialog. It's a DIALOG, which is a secretive invite-only network co-founded by Peter Thiel. He seems to have his grubby little fingers in everybody's business, right? And Oren Hoffman. Oren Hoffman, I'm not as familiar with, but let's find out who is Oren Hoffman. There's always another person behind the other person, right? Just like with Epstein. So he's an American technology entrepreneur, venture capitalist, and angel investor, best known for founding several data and advertising technology companies. He's been active in Silicon Valley for over 2 decades. Some of the companies and organizations he's been involved with, co-founder, former CEO of LiveRamp, same with SafeGraph, Flex Capital, Dialog, co-founder alongside Peter Thiel. This is what we're talking about right now. Dialog hosts private gatherings. Anyway, yeah, he's someone that's not often in the spotlight as much as Peter Thiel, I guess. So, but Wired reported that sensitive details about attendees, event materials, political leanings, and internal systems were exposed, and with later reporting suggesting this may have been caused by poor website configuration rather than a sophisticated hack. Peter Thiel's secret society links AI disruption, cult building, in World War III. Okay, enough of that. We have U.S. officials in the attendees, military leaders, of course, because of Palantir, right? Wired said it confirmed the contents of the leak. Let's see. I tried to get access to that, but then Wired blocked me off this, and I don't think we can. No, because there's a paywall, unfortunately. So, but I'm sure there's a way that we can get access to that, and if we can, we will report on what is in these leaks. Among the publicly mentioned names on the list are General Alexis Grinkovich, NATO Supreme Allied Commander Europe and the head of U.S. European Command, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, Senator Ted Cruz, Palantir co-founder Joe Lonsdale, and others. Interesting, That's what I'm saying. So, like we said, it's interesting that they're discussing topics as AI. Well, who isn't? But World War III, cult building, that was another one, and elite networking and matchmaking. So it's the story is less about the whole secretiveness of this group and more about the elite influence with terrible, OPSEC in relation to this. These are networks of power, as we're seeing all the time, and privacy, hypocrisy, and tech elites with a culture of influence. And just to give you more Forbes, what we know about billionaires, Peter Thiel's secret dialogue, I think here, there's some reference. Oh, here's some more people on the list. Dan Driscoll, Army Secretary. Drug Enforcement Administration, Haley Hoffman. So Corey, there you go, folks. Here you go. Just to show you. The left-right, it's an illusion. Republicans, Democrats, Conservatives, Labor, Tories. It's all an illusion. Look who's attending. Senator Ted Cruz, Republican from Texas. He's like a firebrand, very conservative, very religious. And then you got Senator Cory Booker from New Jersey, very liberal, very progressive. Gee, you wouldn't see these two guys together generally. You wouldn't believe it because Cruz is always railing against this guy and his, comrades or peers, I should say, on Fox, whereas Cory Booker is always railing against Cruz and his peers on CNN. So there you go. But look, we also have governors. Wes Moore, Maryland Governor, Jared Polis. Counsel and head of governance at Google DeepMind, Tom Liu. I'm trying to see if there's any. Jonathan Greenblatt, chief executive of the Anti-Defamation League. If you're not familiar with the ADL, well, I don't want to have any issues with them, but let's just say if you tend to have a critical view about a particular state in the Middle East that is having a significant effect in instigating genocide and conflict against certain people and also against other countries, you tend to get targeted by this organization. Just saying, which is ironic because it's supposed to represent, anti-defamation, meaning a multitude of other people and ethnicities, but tends to focus on one particular, anyway. President of the Cato Institute, Peter Gertler. Charles Koch Foundation, Ryan Stowers. Oh, the Koch brothers, they've been big financiers, of course, for the right wing in the U.S. Look who's there, Jared Kushner. Trump's son-in-law, YouTube CEO. You can't make this up. Neil Mohan. Well, there you go. And then it just goes on. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, the actor, was also there. Interesting. How weird. And then in the leak, you've got these were the billionaires named: Eric Schmidt, Elon Musk. Yep. Scott Cook, Reid Hoffman. I mean, look at this. This is what their net worth is in the trillions or billions, I'd say. A separate website, datingdialog.org, looks to romantically match interested group members. The Dialog participant form asks registrants whether they are looking for love and promises.
Nobody got time for that.
Yeah, ironic, right? And promises to find meaningful connections for exceptional people. I'm going to say, and I don't care, I'll say it. All these people, and more, by the way, even those mentioned in the Epstein files and all these things, none of these people are exceptional. They're not exceptional. They're not even talented. I would even go so far as to say they're not even relevant or interesting. They're people who are smart because they figured out how to cash in and cheat using loopholes and getting into the system. But these people are not exceptional. These people are forgettable. These aren't masters of influence in terms of culture. These aren't Da Vinci's, Tesla's, Mozart's, okay? These are highly unexceptional people. And I think it pretty much speaks for itself there. They know how to cheat taxes and master how to con people out of money. Indeed. Well, con the average citizen because they work through the political system to con. Yeah, indeed. Exceptional con artists, I would say. Indeed. So let's see here. It's a short video. It gets into this. Let's see here.
Secret societies. They often come up in conspiracies or in the plot of a movie. But thanks to some work of some hacktivists, we've got a first look into how one really operates. It's called Dialog, and it's a private, invitation-only group co-founded in 2006 by billionaire Peter Thiel.
That's the perfect image right there. Hold on, wait.
Co-founded in 2006.
So you got to screenshot that one just after what we were talking about. He's there. Look at how he's holding it. It's like a dirty tissue. Like this has no value, and they know it.
By billionaire Peter Thiel. Within the trove of information accessed were the names of hundreds of participants, including sitting Trump officials, Elon Musk, and the president of OpenAI. These influential figures gather at annual retreats, including sessions labelled Bring Back Nuclear, Navigating World War III, and Build a Party, run by a former White House national security official. The hacker, Maya Arsen-Krimu, had...
What? This can't be for real. That can't be the hacker. This has got to be some stock thing. Holy cow. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? They're trying to always give this impression to the public that this is what, the basement dwellers, the hackers. No, the hackers are exceptional people because for them to do this stuff, well, they don't have to be that exceptional because the thing is we're dealing with high incompetency here in relation to these so-called exceptional people, right, in the elite circles, because they're so dumb, so brazen, so foolish. I wouldn't say dumb, okay, but they're so brazen and foolish. They don't care enough. They think they're above the criminal system, the justice system, everything. And nobody is going to crack into their stuff. Oh no, they will. And we've seen that. And Julian Assange exposed that himself, which is why they went after that guy for the longest time, because of WikiLeaks and what he had developed with that. But anyway, this is just ridiculous. It's, this is for boomers who are watching this and, oh my God, look at this. This is the type of idiot that's causing the trouble today. No, they don't look like this at all. This is, unless it is the guy, but I don't think so. This is wacky as hell. Hold on.
Previously exposed the US government's no-fly list and breached surveillance company Verkada. Dialog's digital footprint is hard to spot, although a report by Axios last year showed it's lining up a major expansion with plans to build a campus in the suburbs of Washington, D.C.
This is sounding a lot like Bohemian Grove. This sounds like another Bohemian Grove, like a tech variant of that. And if you don't know Bohemian Grove, that's an actual secret group and meeting held in the wilds or forests of San Francisco. This isn't conspiracy, and I also hate that everyone's hey, it's conspiracy. No, it's not. And every major league individual, from royalty to presidents, sitting presidents and politicians, businessmen, entrepreneurs, you have actors, etc. They have been to Bohemian Grove, and they still do. And lately now, though, because it's been exposed so many times, people have broken into there. It's no wonder that they have so many other variants like these. Because don't forget, Silicon Valley isn't far from Bohemian Grove. Okay, it's also we're talking about San Francisco here in California.
As a permanent hub for off-the-record meetings. None of the individuals' names named in the leak have responded for comment, showing their commitment to the secret in secret society.
Shock horror. Just like nobody has been convicted or, commented in regards to the Epstein files, right? Yeah, anyhow. There's another explainer here. This one, let's see what it has to say. Over short. Handshake.
Imagine you are part of a room, an exclusive group which consists of politicians, multimillionaires, billionaires, maybe a trillionaire. And
you must be talking about the Bilderberg Group. That happens every year. Or wait, do you mean the Trilateral Commission? Oh, that also occurs every year. Or the World Economic Forum. Anyway.
Every other influential power broker of the United States. They gather off the record to discuss sessions titled How's Your Sex Life? Build a Cult, and Navigating World War III. According to a report by Wired, more than 200 of the world's most powerful people, sitting US government officials, senators, generals, tech billionaires, and...
I also want to interject there. These people are powerful because we let them be. We give them power. And that's what people often forget. You give these people power. It's always been the case. They're not powerful. That's why they're highly insecure. That's why they're building bunkers and everything. They're scared. They're scared of you and me and everyone. They're only as powerful as you give them power. And what I mean by that is if everybody decided, screw Amazon, I'm not going to watch any more Amazon Prime, or I'm not going to buy stuff off Amazon. Guess what happens to Jeff Bezos? Wah, 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 wah. He loses his power. They lose relevancy. They become irrelevant, and they become impotent. People are only as powerful as you give them the power to be. It's the same thing as the culture of the economy of relevancy online. When you give people attention, like celebrity culture, etc., they're only relevant if you give them that attention.
Intelligence chiefs are allegedly registered for exactly such a retreat. This is Dialog, founded by Peter Thiel, and data on who all attend this so-called secret society was just leaked. Dialog is a private, invite-only organization that was founded in 2006 by tech billionaire Peter Thiel and entrepreneur Auren Hoffman. As per reports, the organization has worked completely out of the public eye for almost 2 decades. No disclosed membership, no press coverage, by design. It hosts off-the-record annual retreats that bring together...
So it's basically like everything else out there. Right, let's move on. There's not much news, but if we do come across... all right, this was actually... Hold on, this was quite funny. I think I might have to go over a bit today. I'm just mentioning it to my co-host so he knows. Because I just want to cover these things. So the way I had to show this... No, this is pretty funny. Hold on a second. This was really good. By the way, if you're not familiar with Kubrick, that's the weird character in The Shining when Shelley Duvall, Wendy, is running through the, trying to get out of the hotel. There's that weird scene. And that's a plague doctor. But anyway, check this out.
Dialog 2026, where we recruit global and emerging leaders who can help implement the plans we
Musk. And I think that's Sam Harris. I don't know what he's doing there, but okay.
develop. So you all should have been given little bells. So
that was Andrew Yang. Yang Gang.
Just give them a ring, and our resident fluffer, JGL, will stop by to fluff you up. Please, none of that yet. No sucking or fucking until we get through some housekeeping. So we're adjusting the schedule a bit. We're going to do Surviving World War III at lunch. That way we'll have more time for Q&A after how to
You heard Kushner and Cory Booker.
start a cult.
Oh, Tulsi Gabbard is there too.
You guys are actually not going to want to miss that one. We got the guy from Roblox who's going to show us how to get devoted followers willing to do anything for you. It's completely under the radar. We know how important your public image is. Because if people found out you were here, they'd probably tie you up and torture you. And not in a good way.
Look who that is.
That reminds me.
Because he's still alive.
Nipple clamps. You'll find them in all the bathrooms. I know we ran out last year and it was causing some problems. Welcome, everybody.
Anyway, so that's interesting. Also, I'm not going to get into it, but apparently Peter Thiel bought a $12 million mansion in Buenos Aires and is moving his family to Argentina. I wonder what's going on here. You know, you have to always think about this. But yeah, that's also been reported. What is going on? What are these people doing? You have to wonder. So we're moving into our next topic here, which will be quick. I just need to get it. All right. So let me get into. Have you wondered why does school suck? I mean, we always used to say that when we were kids, right? Why does school suck? But this is getting worse than usual. In fact, back when we finished school in my generation, we were unduly prepared for what was about to happen because obviously the system was very different from how it was for our parents. It used to be the case that you just have to work hard at school, pass your exams, get a good, graduate well so you could go to a good college or university, and then graduate with, outstanding marks or get your certificate, and then you would land a good job. But that isn't the case anymore. It hasn't been the case for a long time, even since probably the mid-2000s for that case. And what I find is that it just seems to be the case that the curriculum for most students today, and I know this even from my brother, they're just doing exams and exams and exams, and it's all retention of information. But there's no practical, actual preparation for students, especially teenagers, even before they get into higher education, of how to deal with adulthood, with things that are necessary. That means taxes, financial literacy, etc. So the modern education systems are largely developed, or they were largely developed, I should say, during the Industrial Revolution to produce a literate, disciplined workforce for factories. Remember that. That is exactly what the modern education system was designed originally. And this was around the turn of the 20th century. Government and administrative roles as well, not only just factories. But while education has evolved significantly, since then, critics argue that many schools still emphasize standardized testing, rigid schedules, compliance, and memorization over financial literacy, critical thinking, entrepreneurship, and practical life skills. So as we're seeing AI reshaping the workplace and information becomes instantly accessible, many are questioning right now whether a model designed decades or even centuries ago is preparing students for the realities of the modern world. So there's too much emphasis on exams, is what I'm always hearing from younger generations. Not enough on life skills or creativity or resilience, for that matter. And schools increasingly rely on screens despite concerns about attention and learning. Well, we all know about that. And AI makes the old model even weaker because memorization matters less nowadays. Critical thinking matters more. So trust steadies, but people still do not feel heard. Trust in national government has stabilized. What is this? This is governments are rapidly adopting AI, but need to match this ambition with smarter rules and capabilities. So you will still need humans, is the point, for critical thinking. This wasn't why was this? Oh, here we go. This is The Economist. Students are doing worse than you think. Some at college or university are testing no better than 10-year-olds. Well, that's kind of shocking. This is as of June 25th of this year. In recent weeks, more than 1,800 maths and science lecturers at the University of California, one of America's largest and best public university systems, have signed on an open letter detailing a tricky problem. First-year undergraduates, they say, are increasingly arriving without the basic skills they need to succeed. At the campus in Berkeley, they write some 20 to 30% of students taking an early calculus course turn up displaying severe preparation deficits. The challenge has become so great, they add that instructors are having to reteach middle school mathematics. I mean, well, this has been the problem for the longest time. I've been saying even since the early mid 2000s that it just nowadays it's just too easy to pass, even like to graduate anything. And that's not because I'm trying to say that things should be harder. No, but there should be a value system in place that you need to prove yourself to get to that standard. There are no standards. Everything is just oversaturated. Universities care about money. That's all it is. They give grants and they scholarships and all this other stuff. This is all circular. And then the reality is this. I'm not saying that you shouldn't pursue higher education, but the truth of the matter is it's all part of the business, like the health scam business, just like everything else. Everything's a business nowadays, and there's no standards, there's no value in anything. And then you wonder why so many people, and I'm going to show you an example of the type of people, especially in my field, the type of idiots that they get this type of job. And that's the thing. You don't have to have skills. You don't have to prove yourself. It's just about who you know and about which class you're in. If you're smart enough to be, not smart, well, let's just say smart enough. Yeah, you have to be cunning, I guess, to be in this particular class. Then you can just climb yourself into that and canoodle your way up there. So here you go. From The Guardian, only GCSE reform can free up space to teach financial literacy. Well, that's a bit too little too late because everybody's buying up gold right now and you're trying to regulate the crypto blockchain and everything. I doubt this is going to really help, especially when the dollar is being de-dollarized. But anyway, students and teachers alike are calling for more relevant curriculum that includes vital skills like financial literacy. And there is no binary choice between the academic study of maths and more specific knowledge of compound interest or inflation. I mean, I've always said they never teach how to deal with your taxes. But that in itself is because they don't want you to understand taxes. You got to pay someone to do it because the reality is that they don't want you to know about it because the more you know, the more you realize it's a bunch of crap. The whole taxation system, don't get me wrong, I think that it could work to some extent, but it's designed on purpose to exploit citizens because they're not doing this for the better interest of the people. And then we have here another article. Finland wants to lead the world in financial literacy by 2030. Well, let's hope that happens before the so-called alien invasion. But it looks like now everyone's talking about financial literacy all of a sudden. Gee. Let me show you this. This is a good little, it's a short. Schools don't actually teach you to think because that's what we're lacking right now.
Get your kids out of public school. It is effectively a broken system.
Why do we spend 14 years at school learning things that will be of no value that you can look up on the internet?
Do you know how to do your taxes?
No.
Do you know how to build credit? Do you know what a 401k is?
Absolutely not.
I'm encountering a really concerning number of students who truly do not see any value in learning.
I know I took high school way too seriously because there were kids that would miss like half the school year with zero repercussions.
But they have schools where the truancy rate is 88% and the graduation rate is 70%.
So like we're all talking about how public schools are not sustainable, right?
Is public school destroying our brains?
We don't have too much time to get into this. We need to extend probably more time for our streams. We'll probably do a chill stream. We've been talking about it, myself and Edge, where we can maybe cover some of these things and look at these things. But anyway, Sono Jordan, check it out. School doesn't actually teach you to think. Check this out. This is actually relevant. You know what? I'm just telling Edge right now. I'll cut out the last topic. And so I'll wrap up with this because I know that we are coming to the end of the hour. Or are we? No, we still have, I think, 10 minutes. Okay. Anyway, check this out. This is from, I believe it's Warren Buffett. Yeah, sorry, I have to share it. Yeah, okay. I did not realize. Anyway.
Think about your school years. What were you actually trained to do? You were trained to sit still for 8 hours.
This is, I believe, Warren Buffett. He's like a billionaire. Anyway, listen to what he's saying.
You were trained to memorize instructions. You were trained to raise your hand to ask for permission to speak or even to go to the bathroom. You were trained to fear failure. And above all, you were trained to complete tasks given to you by a superior authority. These are not the skills of an owner. These are the skills of a compliant worker. The school system was designed in the Prussian era to produce soldiers and factory workers. It was never designed to produce capitalists.
Well, in that case, what he's referring to, capitalists, he means entrepreneurs or, people. We are all serfs, and that is the case. People don't understand what the serf is, but the serf is basically, let me get the correct definition of that, and then I can wrap up. It's unfortunate. I wanted to talk more, but anyway, I'm not sure if I can. So it's basically, a peasant from medieval Europe who was legally tied to a piece of land and obligated to work for a lord because it was the lord's land. Serfs were not slaves in the strictest sense. They had some legal rights. Remember, rights are granted to you and could not usually be bought and sold independently of the land, but they were also not free to leave without permission. So, this is the point that I'm making. Not much has changed since then. We're still serfs. We're paying a tax, a levy, or whatever the hell you want to call it. We don't really own anything. That is an illusion too. We are granted that illusion, and we're granted rights and liberties. These are all granted under the confines of this contract. They call it the social contract. But yet, last time I checked, why is it that nothing in terms of the constitutions that we've all adhered to, why is it that none of those things apply to the haves, but to the have-nots it does? Have you wondered? And then you wonder why the justice system, the criminal system, it doesn't apply the same way as it does to the have-nots. Because we are cattle. That's it. We are cattle, and thrown to the fodder when it serves their interest, and bred in circuses like the Roman patrician class did, and that's it. And people don't like to hear that, but then you wonder why these awful crimes occur from these top elite individuals. Epstein, I bring it up again because I'm sorry, it's just the case. Wait, hold on a second. I started around. All right, yeah, we're gonna wrap this up, and yeah, I will continue. Let me just finish with one interesting video that I wanted to show you about the type of people. This is the last. It's a real. The type of people that get the jobs, right? For some reason, it looks like Anne Hathaway. I don't know why, but here we go. Let's see. The worst person on earth.
On Earth is a double major in communications that works a remote HR job out of Scottsdale, Arizona. She graduated from ASU, and now she does job interviews for a software company. Nobody that ever did a job interview with her got the job. She's thumbing through resumes while glucking matcha out of Stanley Cup, typing, "After careful consideration, I regret to inform you we have chosen another candidate on a pink mechanical keyboard." At 1 p.m., after a long day of work, she heads to Pilates, then brunch, then a networking event where everyone has the exact same job, but somehow nobody can explain what they actually do. Her LinkedIn bio says, passionate about people, culture, and empowering talent. Meanwhile, she's filtering out candidates because they used Calibri instead of Aptos. She calls herself a people person, but spends most of her day inventing new and exciting ways to prevent people from obtaining employment. By age 31, she's rejected enough applicants to populate a medium-sized nation. She still doesn't have kids, nor a husband, but that's okay. If Dante wrote another Circle of Hell, it would just be a Zoom waiting room with her profile picture in the corner saying, "The host will let you in soon." It's time we all learn skills that prevent us from having to go through this. Learn how we make these videos.
Anyway, there you go. And I think that is also the problem with the job market. This is an outdated system too, which I have a lot to criticize over because, this idea that you create a curriculum vitae and you just say, please, sir, can you give me a job? And they go, no, I'm sorry. You would have been the right person, but we choose not to accept you. But success on your search anyway, pilgrim. And then you go again and say, please, sir, please, sir. And everybody on LinkedIn, all these chuds are like, oh, yeah, you know, let me tell you, the best way to write your CV is this way. The best way to do that. You know what? Shut the hell up and you all burn in the seventh circle of hell, because it's a bunch of crap. None of it works. Yeah, it's the Angry Bird. Yeah, none of it works. I'm telling you right now, and it never will work. And maybe it does, but that's like finding a needle in a haystack. Keep knocking on the doors, get some schmuck that just goes and tell you like, oh yeah, you're the right candidate for the job. No, you won't. This doesn't work anymore. Everything's oversaturated. Everything sucks, okay? But don't worry, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, because that light is basically you. You can improve yourself, you can establish yourself, and you can basically have the confidence in realizing you don't need any of that crap and all of these outdated, stupid things. And you can do for yourself what many people do, like these other uneducated, exceptional people. And I say uneducated because Bill Gates is not fully educated. He didn't run through that system, and neither did all these other wackadoodles, okay? So, and they're exceptional, but you can be exceptional because you can choose to go your own way. Go your own way and don't go through the initiatic process of like this cult mindset malarkey with CVs and God knows what. So yeah, anyway, that's all I have to say. And I got to wrap it up, and thank you for joining. And I think I scared away whatever viewers we had left. I don't know if I'll be here next week. It depends. That's because of health reasons, but I hope to, because I would like to cover some more. And I'm also we're going to be putting out some videos shortly, so expect for that. Click the notification bell. Thank you for joining the end stream, and be cool, be real. And you were watching the end stream.